Okay, it's now the top of the hour, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to be talking about tips and best practices for local marketing for your law firm in the age of AI-powered search engines. So thanks for taking the time to join us today. Just a few housekeeping matters before we get started. This webinar is being recorded and it will be made available to you shortly after the presentation, so there's no need to take notes unless you'd like to do so. And in the event that you're having any issues with the audio or visual components of the webinar, please use the raised hand feature in the GoToWebinar control panel, or you can type us a message and we'll try to get that resolved for you as quickly as possible. So my name is Drew Mancini, and I am the Digital Marketing Manager here at LSAs. I have a background as a marketing consultant for solos and small law firms in digital marketing practices, as well as branding. And now I continue to enjoy helping to make marketing more accessible and enjoyable for attorneys by helping to create those resources that ultimately work to demystify successful marketing practices. So local marketing is the practice of marketing your business to an audience in your surrounding geographical radius. And for solo attorneys and small law firms, local marketing tactics are proven to be the most effective for boosting your online visibility and driving more business to your firm. By tailoring your website's content to your local market, you can effectively target your ideal client more consistently and reliably on search. And while local marketing is not a new concept for small businesses, there have been several changes to Google's search engine experience in recent years that impact the way attorneys should be approaching this digital marketing practice. So in today's webinar, we're going to be discussing the difference between SEO and GEO and how to leverage them both for better online visibility. We're going to be talking about how client search behavior compares for traditional search versus generative search. Local services ads and how they make for an affordable local marketing asset. And then finally, we're going to be talking about Google Business Profile, some best practices for that for your local marketing. So before we dive in, I want to start with a quick review of what local marketing is so that we have some good context just moving forward today. And local content marketing for lawyers is essentially just where you target your potential clients geographically within your written website content and the information that is relevant and unique to the potential clients in that area. So for example, this can be as simple as using targeted keywords throughout your headers and your content so that Google has an easier time associating your website with a particular geographical area. This tends to be a more effective marketing strategy for solo attorneys and small law firms because more often than not, you're competing with some sort of deep pockets of the other firms in your area that can afford to spend a lot on advertising that boosts their presence on Google. And because of that, you need to be focusing on how you're going to niche down so that your marketing efforts are as targeted as possible so that you can increase your chances of being found on Google organically. And when I was a marketing consultant before joining Lawlytics, it was really a very common concern of my clients to have large volumes of website traffic. This narrative usually got into their heads because it was sold to them by marketing agencies as some sort of golden ticket to getting more clients using their website and online traffic. However, what is much more worthwhile to you is to focus on targeted traffic. So attracting the potential clients that are already at a high likelihood of converting and becoming paying clients because they're looking for exactly what you are providing, and you're also local to them. So not only is that going to be more efficient, but it's going to be cheaper for you in a couple of ways. One, you don't have to cast a very wide net because you're focusing your efforts on creating content that's specific to your practice areas and specific to your location. And two, local content marketing strategy is based on the written content on your firm's website, meaning that you just need to have the necessary words on your pages rather than fancy bells and whistles or excessive paid advertisements and other sorts of expensive paid marketing tactics. And for most potential clients, they're conducting Google searches with their local area in mind. And then on top of that, Google is also leading them toward website listings that are relevant to their area. And we'll talk about that more in just a bit. Okay, so now that we have a bit of an understanding of local marketing, even just on the surface, let's talk about SEO and GEO and how these two strategies are related to local marketing. So we're going to be focusing a little bit more on GEO today because with the assumption that you are familiar with SEO or at least have heard of it. SEO stands for search engine optimization. And today we're going to be talking about GEO, which is generative engine optimization. So one thing about GEO is that the emergence of generative engines is quite a significant evolution in the field of search engines. So unlike traditional search engines, which is where SEO would apply, and this format is primarily providing a list of relevant websites, generative engines go a step further than this by generating what is called a multimodal response that is taken from and created by multiple sources. So something to keep in mind is that generative search is kind of eliminating your need to click on that web page that Google's suggesting to you to find your answer, and is instead pulling from all of the relevant pages that it can find to deliver the answer to you right on a platter. So all you need to really understand at this point, and for your purposes as a solo attorney or a small law firm, is that GEO is the practice of how you're going to optimize your written content so that it can be included in those generative search engine results. And this might just include things like optimizing your content to be easily summarized by AI, easily understood by AI, and then also prioritized by AI. So I wanted to include this slide just to give us a little bit of side-by-side of SEO and GEO, just in case that this is still a little bit unclear because it is more of a newer concept. So these are techniques that you can apply to your website's content in order to achieve better visibility for your website on search engines. So we have the main SEO techniques and we have the main GEO techniques. You'll see that the first three on the GEO side are bolded, and these are the top 3 GEO strategies for lawyers. So the first top strategy is going to be adding statistics to your written content. So a study shows that law firm websites benefited the most using this strategy, adding in statistics, particularly for websites that happen to be underperforming in traditional search engines. The second top technique is going to be adding citations and sources. So links are preferable, but at a minimum, you should provide citations or sources on any sort of like criminal code or quotes or anything that you are providing in your written content. And lastly, you want to keep in mind that it's an important technique to add quotations. So these can be quotes from cases, from legal codes, from legislation, from reports, and then in the actual formatting on the page of the website, you should always be using quote formatting if you are including a quotation. So these are all the top techniques for GEO versus SEO because the way that the generative search engines are performing on Google, or for Google at least, which is what we know right now, and this is kind of what we're focusing on mostly for today, the way it's grabbing all of that information is that it is prioritizing hard data. So if it's prioritizing hard data, then you need to kind of meet it where it's at and also provide hard data where you can on your website. So those are the statistics, the sources, and the quotations. So that's why they're kind of the top techniques for GEO. You'll see also that I have highlighted some things in blue or given them a blue color, and those are where SEO and GEO overlap, and they overlap in more than just these 3 ways, but these are kind of the top ways that we're seeing SEO and GEO overlap. And that first way is going to be with authoritative content. So these are your deep analyses and your insights, and this is going to be the way that you're showing on your website how you are an authoritative source of information about the law and about your practice areas. So that's always going to be important to search engines, whether it is a traditional search engine or a generative search engine. The second way is, of course, understandability, and that's going to be really about keeping your website content really easy to read, preferably conversational, as well as the way you format the pages with headers and subheadings, bulleted lists, things like that. So that's always going to be important for the both of them. And then the last one that they overlap the most is with fluency optimization. So that's, again, more keeping things in very readability formats, those bulleted lists, keeping things very clear, very well formatted, making sure that it's just making sense to the reader on the page. And then while we're here, let's talk about a technique that hasn't been proven to work for boosting your visibility on generative search, and that is keywords, which is interesting. Keywords have not shown any real benefit at this time, and any sort of keyword stuffing, which is a very outdated, very popular SEO practice, has actually been shown to harm a website's visibility in generative search. So just something to keep in mind, but I will still blanket with this all with the fact that it's everything that we know about AI generated searches is super new and it's evolving relatively quickly. As a result, the way we approach generative engine optimization could change. So this is just kind of what we know at the moment. So now let's move on to client search behavior for a closer look into how your potential clients are interacting with search and how you can tailor your marketing strategy accordingly in the age of generative search. So the good news is that as of right now, even with the presence of generative search, there hasn't been any extreme shift in the way your potential clients are using search engines to research their legal issue. Again, we're super early days, so this is definitely subject to change, but for now, we can use a lot of the same strategies that we have in the past based on search behavior and what we know about it. So as always, the first step toward creating more localized content for your website is going to be to first understand what your potential clients are searching for on search engines. You really want to make your content writing about them, because otherwise you're just leaving it up to chance for someone to find your website, and that's clearly not our objective here. And the good thing is that the search behavior of potential clients is actually very predictable. So first, they're likely going to be searching something very specific. So for example, they're not just going to be, or they're not likely to search something word for word like personal injury attorney, Austin, Texas. Instead, they're just a real person who got in a scary accident with an 18-wheeler on the interstate, and they have no experience with this type of thing. So they're going to search something like, what do I do after I get hit by a truck? What Google is going to do then is take this information that your potential client has given it, and it's going to produce results that are not only relevant to that question, but that are also locally relevant. And before we move on, let's think about this in the two possible scenarios. Scenario one, Google produces search results in a traditional format where the user is presented with a list of websites where they can explore the topic further. So that's the search engine that we're all familiar with. And then scenario two, Google employs its generative search engine and produces an answer in a format similar to something like this. So this is just a screenshot of a search that I did myself on Google, and Google's search generative experience produced this for me. So what I did was just search, what do I do after a DUI? This is a very similar thing that you could expect a potential client to search for in a Google search bar. And as you can see, what it gave me was it aggregated a bunch of information from all over the internet, and it gave me the answer in a very conversational tone. It gave me a bunch of options like attend DUI school and contact a DUI attorney. And then it also, in the purple, cited its sources for me if I wanted to go look into some websites for more information. It also gave me additional advice at the bottom here, as well as these exploration buttons where I can figure out where I want to explore the topic further. So this is the newer scenario that we're faced with. I think people are still interacting with search engines similarly, but they are getting a very much different experience from Google after this generative search has been released. So as of right now, they're still interacting with it the same, but as you can see, with the way that information is presented, it could change the behavior of your potential clients and the way they use search. So let's look into these natural exploration guides also before we move on. So what I pointed out in the last slide was towards the bottom of those generated search engine results, Google also provides users with those natural exploration buttons where the user is prompted to take a deeper exploration into their topic of interest. You can also see that these were tailored to my geographic location. I'm actually in Denver, Colorado, so this second result for me was tailored to Colorado, and then for some reason it gave me California as well. So that's also interesting that it was kind of meeting me where I am, but also offered California. So that's interesting. But my point is that if you're looking for inspiration, where you should be taking your content further on your website, and you need to figure out how you're going to start connecting with potential clients using your website content and the actual written words on your pages, this is super concrete insight into what people are actually searching for on Google. So this is an excellent resource to use. I'd really recommend Googling some things that you hear your clients asking you pretty often, and then just scrolling down to those natural exploration buttons and seeing where that gets you. You can play around with this forever, and it'll probably just keep generating really, really good, helpful topics for you to explore further on your website. And of course, if you're still with me at this point and you're thinking, okay, that all sounds great, but hello, I'm already a super busy attorney. What makes you think that I can tack on market research at the same time? I do have a solution for you, and that is the Lawlytics Smart Content tool. This tool is baked into your Lawlytics dashboard and contains a library of over 300 practice area topics across 20 practice areas. And each topic in this library has been professionally written, pre-formatted, and it's carefully optimized for maximizing search engine performance. And how this is really going to help you with local marketing is that the topics have been written in a way that guides you to include localized information that's going to help the piece get matched with relevant and local search results. And on top of all of that, there's also an interactive checklist at your disposal when you're editing your content to give you additional marketing pointers to take that content to the next level. With the advancement of ChatGPT and other AI writing tools that are at your disposal, it really is understandable that you're drawn to those types of solutions because they seem quick, they're often free, and you're getting supposedly original content. But the reality is that even with a meticulous amount of prompting on your end, which we do have a blog about if you are curious about learning how to use ChatGPT to create content for you, the AI is not going to be able to capture the proper nuance that you're looking for when creating content for your potential clients. And there's also that potential for error, as a lot of AI databases tend to be outdated, and you're also going to be spending extra time on formatting and adding in those localized elements. This content tool is really just the best shortcut to creating high quality content for your website that is available at the moment. And it's content that you can actually trust to be 100% accurate. You can trust it to be formatted properly, and it's also optimized for better visibility on search, whether that's generative search or traditional search. So before we move on to the second half of the webinar, I'd just like to show you around the tool briefly so we can get an idea of how it actually works. So I'm going to bring you back into the Lawlytics dashboard. So if you were a member with us and you were looking to create a piece of content in the content library, this is what it would look like. This is the entrance to the content library. You have all of your practice area options on the left here. You can browse some popular pages. But let's go into an example of how you can actually create a page. So I'm just going to go into an administrative log because that's my first option. And for example, I love to recommend these FAQ pages because these are one of the easiest ways if you're starting fresh or you're just looking to create more content on your website. You might not have a lot. Having an FAQ page helps you hit a lot of points without creating page after page after page. So let's start with that FAQ page. And then on the left, we can see all the ways that this content has been optimized for search. So there's multiple link opportunities, there is a ton of subtitles, it's a high converter page, and it creates organic traffic opportunities. Awesome. And then on the right here, we have the actual preview of the content. And then everything that's in blue is what I'm going to be customizing in my next step. So if I were choosing between a couple pages that I wanted to work on, I can just preview it here. And if I'm satisfied with it, I can just click use this template. And then right away, I am ready to customize my content. So first I'm going to choose what website I'd like to publish this to. And for me, I have already filled out content customizations in the past and clicked saved entries. So my entries are already saved for me here, and I can save a step and not worry about entering these in again. So as you can see, everything that's on the left has been populated for me on the right in blue, and it's ready for its final step. So I'm going to complete my customization. And here I am brought to the back end of my Lawlytics website. This is where I can make a change to the title or nest it under a parent page or add any sort of image or table or grid or hyperlink or anchor link or click to call phone number, whatever you need to add to this piece of content to make it uniquely yours. And then also this is the checklist that I had mentioned previously where it's unique to every topic card. The suggestions are unique to every topic card, but for this one, for example, it's recommending that I use subheadings, that I remember the readability, which is an SEO and GEO top technique, to use links and include a strong CTA. So as I'm going through this list and completing these, I can check these off. I can X out. It'll remember my progress for later if I were to save this as a draft, but just to give you an idea of what this would look like maybe on the front end of a website, let's go ahead and publish it. And I'm going to view this on the front end. And this is just an example of what it could look like on your website. You have the title up top. You have all of these other categories for previous pages you've created, your contact form so the potential client has an easy way to reach out, and your piece of content that has been generated for you as you saw in less than 2 minutes. So just a little bit about that tool if you have not yet seen it. But back to our slides. Moving on from written content, in this next half of the webinar, I just want to talk about a couple other options for local marketing tools that go just beyond the words of your website, and we will start with local services ads. So local services ads are a Google paid service that is tailored more towards small businesses. And this can be an effective paid advertising solution, and especially a local marketing solution for solo attorneys and small law firms, because you can really control your budget. You don't need to write any ad copy, and they're also intended to show up for relevant search results that are also local to your geographic area. While again, the written content on your website is going to be what's your most effective, impactful, and sustainable local marketing strategy. If it's within your budget, however, to pursue paid advertising, then you might be able to boost your visibility on Google just a little bit faster this way. So local services ads only appear for local businesses that are relevant to the person that is making the search. So when a potential client searches for a particular service that you provide, for example, personal injury, your ad might appear at the top of the search results. And in order to make its decision on what ads are listed before others, Google considers several factors, such as operating hours, proximity to that user, your reviews, your review score, and your responsiveness. And as I mentioned, a business only pays per lead with a local service ad, meaning you will only need to pay Google if a potential client calls or messages you directly using the ad. So really your monthly cost of your LSAs are going to depend on things like your location, your industry, and your competitors. And you can set a budget based on the number of leads that you're looking for per week. Once you set that budget, Google will stop running the ad for you if you've reached that particular budget for the month. So it's really kind of an easier way to stay within budget if you're just looking to dip your toe into paid advertising. And another unique quality of LSAs is that they offer a Google screened qualification. You can see on this image on the slide, it's that green check mark, and that literally just gives your firm a stamp of approval from Google so that potential clients can see that you've been verified when they're conducting their research on Google. And so this stamp of approval is it really is just earned by verifying your license and undergoing a background check. It's really straightforward, but the visual impact of that check mark can be that extra peace of mind for a potential client that they might need in order to make their decision to either hire you or even just click on that ad. And then finally, we have Google Business Profile, which is another local marketing tool that's available to you, but at no cost. So I want to explore that a bit if you are unfamiliar or haven't really thought about your Google Business Profile in a bit. So if you're not already familiar, this is a free business listing on Google that you can create that makes your firm visible on Google Maps and helps you connect with more local and relevant searches. So taking the time to optimize your Google Business Profile listing is super useful to your firm, and it can really make a difference to a potential client who's looking for an attorney in their area. To get the most out of your listing, you're going to need to customize all of the available elements and make sure that you are clearly listing the areas that you serve and your practice areas throughout, wherever you can. And accuracy in this stage is of the utmost importance. The one thing that you'll want to double check is the PIN location for your business address. So if you find that Google isn't listing your location exactly correctly, you could be missing opportunities to connect with local potential clients. So just double check that PIN if it's been a while or if you've never checked that. One important element to nurture as well is your reviews section. It's very likely your potential clients are checking the reviews section before they reach out to give themselves that necessary validation that you're a trusted resource. So if you don't currently have a system in place to collect and respond to the reviews on your Google Business Profile, I do highly recommend looking into it. And since we're talking about local marketing strategy in the age of generative search, I want to just further emphasize the importance of Google Business Profile for your firm's visibility on Google. So far, what we know, Google Business Profile is one of the most critical pieces of local Google SGE optimization. And that's because most location-based SGE snapshots, which are really just that like search experience that I showed you a few slides back, those snapshots use and link to Google Business Profiles. So that's super interesting to know. And if you want to help yourself get ahead of your competitors that may or may not know the significance of Google Business Profile for generative search just yet, go ahead and give yourself a leg up by optimizing your profile with things like images, with a Q&A section, Google posts, and selecting the most relevant categories for your practice areas as well as any other additional details that you can include, down to even saying what your parking availability is and holiday hours and things like that. So just make sure that you are packing out your Google Business Profile with as much information that you can provide it, because it can really make a difference. So while you can strategize and plot and plan to achieve local marketing and better visibility for your law firm on Google, all of these efforts are going to be wasted if you don't have a modern, high-functioning, and optimized website for your potential clients to find you on. And your firm's website is the foundation of your digital marketing strategy, and a high-quality and modern website is going to be that first step to targeting your local ideal client more efficiently and affordably. And it's what's going to anchor your marketing efforts as you strive towards growing your business. So now you can get an instant firsthand look at what your new website could look like with us using our new website design tool. With this tool, you can browse various layouts that we have. You can customize the site to your firm's branding and colors, and you can even toggle through different image options to get a feel of what your new website could actually look like. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat for you all now if that is something that you'd like to check out, if it'll let me. Okay. So I'm going to drop that in the chat. And since I already gave you guys a little bit of a tour today, I just want to end things here. But if you are interested in what you saw here today, or if you want to see more of the tool, of our technology, or if you have any questions about how you can use your website to drive more business to your law firm, I want to invite you to request a demo with us, which is a great place to get started. And you can do that by visiting lawlytics.com and clicking on the request demo button that is in the top of your navigation. But that is the end of our presentation today. If you do have any questions about having a successful website with Lawlytics, please feel free to reach out to us any of the methods that you see here. But with that, I'm going to close out the presentation. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll hold for questions if we have any, but I will see you next time. Thank you.